Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
For the past few days here on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network, you might have heard me talking about what's going on at Columbia University. But Lou Terminello, congratulations. You're the first interview post all that craziness. I mean, I know there's still stuff to talk about with that, but I wanted to break it up with some sports. Why not, right, Lou?
Absolutely. Sports is our getaway. That's why we love it. Sports
I appreciate that you listen through.
Real world.
I appreciate you listening to this through the news, though, because I think it's important to talk about a bit of everything, right?
Without question.
But let's talk about something that probably took a lot of attention away from what's going on college campuses, because a lot of college athletes were drafted last night. And let me start with the fact that Penix Jr. did not come to the Giants as was speculated. He gets drafted by the Falcons. I mean, didn't they just sign Kirk Cousins? Wasn't that a big deal? Kirk's got to be hurting right now.
Well, this is Terminello's take on it, Alex. I was shocked, like everybody else. Not shocked. Nothing shocks me. I was surprised when Atlanta at 8 selected Michael Penix Jr. Obviously, they did sign Kirk Cousins. $90 million of his $180 million is guaranteed. But again, look what happened to the Jets last year. We are now in an era, where I think we've said this before, that the most important position in football, obviously, is quarterback. But probably the second most important position is backup quarterback. And if you don't have a backup quarterback, and again, I think Penix Jr., I know he's had 2 ACL injuries. I know he's had shoulder injuries, but I think the guy's going to be a terrific NFL player. He throws a great deep ball. It seems like he's built for the NFL. So even if he sits for a couple of years, or maybe even 3 years, like Aaron Rodgers did, like Jordan Love did, they have their quarterback situation locked up, unless this kid can't play at all, which we don't know, for the next 15 years. So we'll see. I would have gone elsewhere. The Falcons, in a very winnable division, need major defensive help. Their defensive rankings have been in a low between 25 and 30 for the last 4 or 5 years. So I probably would have gone there. Ironically, the first 14 picks were all offensive picks, which I think was the deepest in history. It was the deepest in history before a defensive player was picked. So it did surprise me. It surprised me, but then when I thought about it, okay, here's a guy that we really, really like, and they did it. So, but that was the big surprise in the draft. Last night was supposed to be an explosive night as far as trades, among the top 10 teams in the draft, but it wasn't explosive. It basically went according to, not according to form, but basically, yes, the first teams were picking quarterbacks. That's what happened. Then, by the way,
maybe you talked the Falcons off the ledge, and a lot of NFL teams off the ledge of actually not picking Penix. What I mean by is, remember, you were a staunch defender of him, even though he had a rough time against the Michigan defense in the title game. You said don't lose faith in the kid, and here he is, drafted the NFL, first rounder, 8th pick by the Falcons. Now we got to talk about his counterpart. I think McCarthy's going to fare well in Minnesota and just in the NFL. I just like his poise at the college level, don't you?
Again, the guy has been taking a lot of hits from media members, but apparently the Giants came very close to picking him at number 6. And they love Drake May, the Giants, didn't they? From what I hear, they really pushed New England to try to trade up to 3, but New England wouldn't budge. I like McCarthy more so than most. I was not so sure at first, but the more you hear, the more you see, it seems like I'm convinced more that he's going to be an effective NFL quarterback. Again, he played on a great team at Michigan. When he was pressed against Alabama, I mean, that fourth down play, what was it, 4th and 2? He got it done. He got it done against Bama. He got it done against Michigan. He got it done against Ohio State. I think the kid will be good. Hey, all these quarterbacks, it's you throw in spaghetti to the wall and see what sticks. So I mean,
Well,
you can go.
that's gonna happen with the Bears because Caleb Williams, I feel like he's all about his flashiness over his style of play or his strategy. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be the best pick for the Bears, only because they just tried with Fields, didn't work. I mean, Caleb seems really like his own person. He does. I don't know how he's going to mesh well in Chicago, but I guess as you say, they're trying to do that. I just don't have much faith in the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, obviously, after his junior year, he was the consensus #1 pick going into his senior year for the 24 NFL draft. Then they start thinking about other players maybe being picked #1. But again, when the smoke cleared and he went at his pro day and with the NFL scouts, he emerged as the clear-cut #1. If the Bears did not pick him and he became an all-star or Hall of Fame type quarterback, they would have never heard the end of it. And,
well, for my dad's sake, I want myself to eat pro here because I want the Bears to do well. I mean, obviously they're my dad's team, but also they're just a team that I have seen struggle after
well,
these drafts.
especially at the quarterback position. I mean, really, they haven't drafted Jim McMahon was an excellent quarterback. He won the Super Bowl with them. Yes, they were a defensive, probably the greatest defensive one-year team, and they were in NFL history. McMahon was more than just of a caretaker, game manager quarterback, but they really haven't had a quarterback of Hall of Fame caliber since Sid Luckman in the 40s. So we'll see. The Bears have good personnel, so I'm sure he'll work hard, and we'll see what happens. But again, we can talk about all these players, and really, Alex, I don't. And the one thing I'm so glad the draft is here, because the one thing I can't stand, if I had to look at one more mock draft, I mean, please. I mean, I don't look at
that. Almost was like the NFL.
I pop up on the newspaper or pop up on my, on my phone. Oh my God, it's just.
Tell you what, that's almost like a bracket buster right there in the NCAA tournament. That's what that was this week with all these picks at the top going to quarterback. You mentioned, well, there's two things I also want to cover. You mentioned Drake May, another ACC QB who's really thrived and excelled. Lou, I think he has a lot of potential. And everybody's like, well, why don't you think Caleb, but Drake May? Well, Drake May was breaking a lot of records and making career numbers at UNC, wasn't he?
Well, again, look at the kid. He was ACC Rookie of the Year, ACC Offensive Player of the Year. He won a couple of other ACC awards. He's big. He's mobile. Yes, everybody compares him to Justin Herbert because of his throwing motion and his build. Again, I like him. One of my friends saw him live, and he saw him in one of his worst games. And this person is associated with the NFL and said that Drake May did not have a good game, and it was at the game at Clemson. But you got to look past those type of games and just see how he would do in an NFL game, in an NFL offense, how he runs the offense, how he commands the huddle. And let's face it, the Patriots are looking for, they're not going to find another Tom Brady, that's for sure, but they're looking for the next quarterback that could be a playoff quarterback for them. And they got so many holes, the Patriots. So again, I'm not even sure how many of these guys. I would say Caleb Williams is going to start right away. I'm not so sure that Drake May is going to start right away, but we'll see.
Well, your Jets drafted an offensive tackle from Penn State, which is huge. I think that line needs to protect Rodgers. I mean, there's a reason why he went down 4 plays into last season. He didn't have that line there, but maybe your pick there will help him out a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't a flashy pick. I loved Brock Bowers, and so did the Jets. But apparently, when push came to shove, they decided to pick the offensive tackle. And I know they signed, they made the trade to get Morgan Moses. They brought Smith back in free agency, but they're 33 years old. They're 1 year. They're on 1 year deals. So I have no problem with them picking a left tackle, and I just hope that the kid can play. And according to everyone, the kid can play.
All right, one big miss, which I just realized as we're talking, was a guy named Blake Corum was not drafted last night, and what a running back tandem! In tandem with McCarthy, you had that 1-2 punch, and Corum. Is there hopes? Is my hope still alive? You could end up in a Giants uniform by the end of this draft. That's what I'm hoping for, because I think they need him to replace Saquon.
Absolutely. He's going to get drafted tonight. He might get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, but he's not going to go through the whole draft undrafted. But he was not targeted to be a 1st round pick. But he might get drafted in the 3rd round. If he doesn't get drafted tonight, he'll definitely get drafted tomorrow.
Well, he certainly doesn't seem the type to be Mr. Irrelevant. We'll put it that way. So we'll see. All right, moving on from the draft, and there's a lot more to talk about next week as the draft wraps up. But last night, the Knicks I watched some of the game. They had struggled on certain ends. Looks like Philly's defense tightened up a lot more than the first 2 games. Is that a right assessment?
Well, I mean, obviously Philly playing at home. The one thing they did yesterday was they rebounded better. They actually won the rebounding battle last night, which they didn't do in the first 2 games. And despite that ridiculous situation at the end of the game where I can't believe that 3 NBA officials missed 3 calls basically on 1 play. If the Sixers got 1 rebound, the game was over, and they couldn't get that rebound the other night. But I can't believe that 3 NBA officials didn't see Nick Nurse calling a timeout or Jalen Brunson holding on to Maxi's jersey. Now, truth be told, when I saw it live, I didn't think there was a foul, but the camera angle didn't show Brunson grabbing onto Maxi's jersey, and he grabbed onto him with a good grab. Obviously, they call that the chances of the Knicks winning the game probably don't happen. But that's the way it goes. That NBA 2-minute report is good and bad. That last 2-minute officials report, because it and they didn't have that when I was in the NBA. They didn't do the last 2-minute report. It's good, Alex. It's good and it's bad. It opens up a can of worms. Yeah, our guys make mistakes, and this is the NBA playoffs. Now you look at last night's game. Joel Embiid, in my opinion, should have been thrown out of the game. That was a very dangerous play, dangerous action, pulling down Mitchell Robinson. That was a dirty play. I remember, and I wasn't with the Nets. I was way post my Nets career, but I was in the building in Barclays when Embiid initiated a brawl at Barclays Center, and he has a history, and he should have been thrown out. Now, he might have been thrown out if they hadn't screwed up game 2. If game 2 ended with no controversy and it was 1-1, Embiid might have gotten tossed out last night. That's just my view. I haven't, spoken to anybody with league connections that said that, but that was a dirty play, and I think Embiid's a dirty player.
Well, I wonder if your buddy Mitch actually supplied some of these tapes to the refs and the teams after the game. I don't know, but
he might have.
Sure.
Yep.
Now, the other disturbing thing about last night was apparently Embiid now has Bell's palsy. Now, I mean,
Bell's palsy.
It's a little knowing how he got it. I don't know how he got it, but is that going to affect him the rest of the playoffs?
Well, I've known a couple of people who have had that. Sometimes you can get that from uh, a cold breeze hitting your face. Then I had a coworker who had it. He went to physical therapy, and they worked that out. The other person who had it, I forgot how she took care of it. But I guess I want to describe it. Maybe it feels like Novocaine. You like you have a shot of Novocaine, and Novocaine never goes away. But I've never had it, thank God. But I don't know if it's going to affect him in the series. But the one thing is, he's having trouble jumping, and the fact that there's 2 days off between game 3 and 4 will help Embiid. And let's face it, without Embiid, whether he's a dirty player like I think he is, I shouldn't say dirty player. He's had many dirty incidents. He's done, so that's just me. But he's a fabulous player. He can get to the free throw line. Look at the 3 games: 12 free throw attempts the first game, 12 free throw attempts the second game, and 21 last night. And he scored 50. He became the first player in the history of the NBA playoff to score 50 points and take under 20 shots. He only took 19 shots. So he had a very effective 50-point game. Like I said, this is a 50-50 series. But now the Sixers have to win 3 more times. And in their mind, they really think that they've already beaten the Knicks twice. So are they going to beat the Knicks 5 times overall? I don't know. That's going to be tough. But we'll see. This is a very interesting series. And we knew it going in. It would be interesting. And the Knicks play very hard. And the Knicks never give up. And Jalen Brunson had a better game than he had in 2 games at the Garden. And
so my mind when we're in these playoffs, my mind focuses on one conference overall. Like if I'm in the Eastern Conference, I want to see what happens in the Eastern. So my eye is clearly on what's going on between the Celtics and the Heat, because I like the Heat are tied 1-1. I mean, if the Celtics somehow lose, which I know you don't think will happen, doesn't that open the door for the Knicks? We have to go one series at a time, but
right.
The fact that they're giving a run for the Celtics money here is very interesting to watch.
Well, after getting slaughtered in game 1, I thought, maybe Miami might win one game in Miami. But again, they hit 23 threes the other night, and that's the great equalizer. The other thing, though, from a Celtics standpoint, if you want to be worried, and they'll get by this series, if Miami beats, hey, how highly I think of Eric Spoelstra. I think he's the best coach in the NBA. If Eric Spoelstra beats the Celtics 3 more times, I'm going to elevate him even higher if that's possible. So the Celtics should get by this series. But the alarming thing about the Celtics in that game, when they had a chance to, in game 2, put the hammer down early, they didn't. There might be something in the Celtics makeup that has them as a flawed championship contender. I mean, Alex, in the natural, the Celtics should wipe the floor with them at home the other night. And Miami really had control of that game down the stretch. Yeah, anything can happen. We saw the Knicks score 8 points in 13 seconds, whatever the hell it was. But to me, that's a red flag for the Celtics. And yes, if by some chance the Celtics get knocked out, the East is wide open for the Knicks, for anybody who's left standing, because the West is much more competitive than the East, 1-8.
That's and the Nuggets are taking it to the Lakers. They're gonna, after that incredible game 2, looks like they're gonna coast through the rest of it. I don't see the Lakers winning another game in that series. I could be wrong, but
maybe the Lakers will win tomorrow night. They have lost 11 straight to the Nuggets, playoffs and regular season. But the thing about last night was the 3rd straight game that the Lakers had a 10-point or more lead, and they've lost all 3 games in the second half, and they've lost all 3 games. They have Anthony Davis and they have LeBron James, and they blew those games. is that how good the Nuggets are? I guess yes. But the other disturbing thing was late in the game when Darvin Ham called a timeout. D'Angelo Russell didn't enter the huddle. He was on the bench looking at his phone. And again, I've been down on the NBA for a lot of the style of play and game management, guys taking games off. But that's another bad look for the NBA. Yeah, I know it's not the first time. We've seen it in all sports. But it happens in the NBA more so than other sports. And it happened in a key playoff game. That's disconcerting to me. In my opinion, once the series is over, the Lakers got to dump D'Angelo Russell. They have to. You can't be allowed to get away with that.
Absolutely not. Well, in the few minutes we have here, I wanted to switch to the NHL real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Your Islanders are on the brink, Louis. What do they got to do?
What they got to do is they have been able to come up with the big play against a team that's much better than them in every way, shape, or form. Maybe they'll win tomorrow and go to Game 5, but that's it. Carolina's better, like we said last week. The bottom of the East, the 7th and 8th seeds in the East, really are borderline playoff teams. Maybe there aren't even playoff teams. Look who's 8th in the West. The Vegas Golden Knights up 2-0 against the 1 seed, Dallas. That doesn't feel like an upset to me. But the Islanders Patrick Waugh took a chance yesterday, and his risk wasn't rewarded. Sorokin, obviously he's going to be the Islander goaltender moving forward, but goaltenders go through periods of confidence slumps. We saw it with Sorokin the first half of the year. And Semyon Varlamov has been playing great for the Islanders, even though they lost the first 2 games. And the fact that he took a risk with Sorokin yesterday, I was surprised going in. And Sorokin, especially on the first and third goals, they were stoppable. When you're playing in a tight playoff series, you got to come up with those saves. And that was the one advantage that everybody thought. If the Islanders were going to push the series to 6 games or something, they would have the goaltending advantage over Frederik Andersen, who's been great. Now, he hasn't been tested. That game on Tuesday night when the Islanders were up 3-0, they were up 3-0, but they were being outplayed. They were losing all the battles. And the fact that they blew the 3-0 lead for the first time in their playoff history was no surprise to me as I was watching the game. Carolina's a good team. Carolina and the Rangers in the next round is going to be a hell of a series. That's much different than the Rangers. Basically, the Rangers should win in 5 if they don't win in 4 straight. The Rangers are faster than the Capitals. They're too deep for the Capitals. They're too good for the Capitals. And if the Capitals are going to take 6 penalties like they did the other night, you're not stopping the Ranger power play. They're too good. They're just too good. And I think
strong 5-on-4 team. They are a strong power play team, 5-on-4 team. So
that's going to make the next
and
round.
You don't like that I'm giving Rempe a lot of credit, but I'll tell you what, I said last week he's going to be a factor. Boom. He scored already.
Look, he's played a total of 15 minutes in 2 games. He's not Connor McDavid. Again, I don't think he's playing against Carolina. Maybe game 1.
Well, I want to go because we've covered our local teams right now. I want to go real quick to the other history that's looming at Citi Field this weekend, and not many people, except maybe Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, are talking about it because right now the fever pitch is about the Rangers and the Knicks. But yes, Pete Alonso on track for home run 200, possibly as soon as tonight. What do you think about that?
Well, the Mets have only had 3 guys, I believe, that have exceeded 200. So It would be exciting. David Wright was over 200. David Wright, Mike Piazza, and Darryl Strawberry. If he remains a Met, Pete Alonso should hit over 400 home runs as a Met. But we'll see if he signs with the team at the end of this year. But yes, the fans will be excited if he hits number 200 over the weekend against St. Louis. A good thing for the Mets after suffering a very bad blow last Friday night with the Francisco Alvarez thumb surgery. And you don't want a first-year player who's still raw. You want to gain so much experience, missing 2 months, but that's the way it goes. But J.D. Martinez makes his season debut and his Met debut tonight. So that's he's in the lineup and he's batting behind Pete Alonso. So that's a good thing. But they got to get Corey Singer back. He's been out and he's not going to come back until around June 1st. He's their best pitcher. I guess Tyler McGill will come back in the middle of May. That'll help. And the one guy that we forgot, who is a serviceable pitcher, and I guess he'll be back around June 1st, is David Peterson. And you're just looking for guys to eat up 5-6 innings because you can't have bullpen guys pitch every night. You wear out your bullpen, and they'll become ineffective. So we'll see.
I think it's a little disappointing after the 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers to lose, then 2 out of 3 against the Giants. I thought they were going to keep that momentum going.
Well, I mean, let's face it. They won 5 series in a row, so I'm not going to kill them on that. You want them to keep winning series. Now, I hope they can win 2 out of 3, if not sweep the Cardinals this weekend. But you keep winning those series, and that's how you build up a winning record. So we'll see.
Now, one last thing that happened this week, which maybe fell under the radar of non-baseball fans or whatever, those wrapped up in the Rangers and Knicks fever here, is the fact that Aaron Judge did pass the former captain, his previous captain, Derek Jeter, on the home run list. Now, obviously, Jeter wasn't a home run hitter, but it was something to say, and I mentioned that because today's Aaron's birthday. So how about that? A little bit of a tie in there to the whole Yankees team and what Aaron did this week. And of course, he will hit more than 260, 261. I think he's going to get up there, right? I mean, he's got to hit.
Yeah, no, I think Aaron Judge is going to hit 500. That's for sure. And happy birthday to Aaron Judge. But the Yankees did not. I mean, splitting with the Oakland A's.
Horrible. That's concerning. And they wasted a bases loaded opportunity last night alone, which cost them the game, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. I mean, so again, we'll see. It's still early. It's only April 25th or 26th, April 26th. So we still have a long
I just got to ask you one thing to wrap up the week. You're not going to sit behind the dugout anytime soon and yell at the umpire. I have to ask that question.
Well, no, because I'm afraid I'll get the manager thrown out of the game, and it's really my fault.
I hope
I have no idea, Alex, how that could happen. How an umpire can throw out a manager or anybody in the dugout when it was somebody in the stands.
I think so. The highlight, though, to me is when they eject the public address guy for playing 3 blind mice. That one will always be up in the record books of ejections. I'll put it that way. Hey, Lou, this has been a fun, short catch-up with you. We'll do a longer one next week. But there's just so much to talk about. You can't really recap it all because it's not done yet, right? There's plenty of hockey, basketball to go this round alone.
Yes. Next week when we talk, we should be getting ready for Rangers in Carolina. And we'll see if the Knicks season is still on the precipice. But I think the Knicks are in pretty good shape. And we'll see what happens.
And you gotta love DiVincenzo. You're Italian over there making those.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: when Embiid pulled Mitchell Robinson down, who was the first guy and he wasn't afraid that Embiid was 7 inches taller than him. He stuck his nose right in there.
All right, Lou. Thanks for the time. Thanks for Terminello's take and breaking up this podcast a little bit into some sports world. We needed it after a week like this, right?
Absolutely.